Find the difference by hand, then use a calculator to check your work. So in this problem we have -3/4 minus 5/6. So let's start with changing the subtraction problem into an addition problem, working with the idea of that a subtraction is the same thing as adding the opposite. So -3/4, instead of subtracting 5/6, I'm going to add the opposite of 5/6. So subtraction will become addition, and the opposite of 5/6 is -5/6. So we've changed our subtraction problem to an addition problem. So now we're going to need to add these two fractions. Well, as I look at those two fractions, I can see that we're going to have to change to a common denominator first. So let's go ahead and get these set up. So we've got -3/4. I'm going to need to be multiplying that by something, so I'm going to leave a bit of a space. That's being added to -5/6. And again, I'm going to have to multiply that by something to find the common denominator, so I'm going to leave a little bit of a space. So let's think about the LCD. The lowest common denominator for this problem, we want to think about the smallest number that both 4 and 6 will go into evenly, and going through our mental multiplication chart, we can say, well, 12 will be the smallest number that both 4 and 6 will go into evenly. So we're going to change both of these fractions from our original problem. Careful not to lose that negative sign, right? The negative sign here stays here, and then we're adding, and again we want to keep track of our negative, and I'm writing these, I'm just kind of getting everything set up here so my LCD is going to be in place. So let's go back and figure out what our new numerators are going to be to go along with this common denominator. This first problem, we want to ask ourselves, well, what am I going to be multiplying here by? So 3/4, in order to make this 4 denominator into a 12, it's going to have to be multiplied by 3. Well, if the denominator gets multiplied by 3, the numerator has to get multiplied by 3 as well, because remember what we're doing here is we're multiplying this thing by a fancy form of 1. So this is just like a fancy 1 going on right here. Okay? So grabbing my pen back, if we take 3 times 3 here in my numerator, that's going to give me 9. Over on this problem, same idea, changing the denominator. 6 times what number is 12? Well, 6 times 2 is 12. So again, multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the same thing, and that's a multiplication sign, that's not a negative. 5 times 2 is 10. Now that I've got the same denominator, now I can proceed. My denominator for my answer is going to be 12. And remember, we do the operation only to the numerators. Once we have the denominator the same, the denominator stays the same. So -9 plus -10, we're just bringing our numerators together. Well, -9 plus -10, the signs are the same. So we add and keep the sign. So that's going to give me -19 over 12. And we'd like to, for our final answer, to have the negative out front. So I'm going to bring my negative out front of my fraction and write the final answer as -19/12. Now let's do a quick check on our calculator just to be sure that we did this correctly. So let me bring the calculator over. So since we're going to be working with fractions, we'll need to use our fraction key. So let me clear that out. So -3/4 minus 5/6. So -3/4, we're going to start with the negative sign, 3, and then the fraction key, remember, is up here. 3, fraction key 4. So there's -3/4. From then I'm going to subtract, so I go to this subtraction sign here, 5, fraction key 6. And when we press enter, we see that we have -1 and 7/12. Well, that's not quite the same thing as what I had here, but if we change this by hand to a mixed number, that's what we would end up with. We can also have our calculator change this for us. Up above the fraction key is a tool for changing mixed numbers to improper fractions. So if we press the second button and press the fraction key and then press enter, oh, but that should be a -19/12. That's a